Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that sometimes the paper champ is actually the one people remember. Today, in wrestling history! April 13th, 2000. Probably the most important house show in all of ECW history, coming from Indianapolis, Indiana. Little bit of backstory for you, Paul Heyman's ECW is at its absolute hottest, while also being in financial turmoil. ECW on TNN had debuted 8 months prior, but had the company absolutely hemorrhaging money. Many of ECW's performers started seeing their paychecks bounce. Some hadn't been paid in months. ECW's top guy world champion Mike Awesome, who had given up his dates in Japan to commit to the Philly brand, was now sinking with a family and a mortgage and was several checks behind in payment. It's believed Awesome took a two-pronged attack on this one. He called up good friend Horace Hogan to get a hold of the right people at WCW in order to receive an offer. With that, he went to Paul Heyman demanding back pay and a raise with that WCW offer as his bargaining chip. Of course, Heyman could never go after Awesome or WCW for tampering, as performers in ECW were on per-date agreements. The company just wasn't big enough to offer long-term contracts to anybody. And Heyman, according to some, just gave his blessing to Awesome, thinking that Mike was not actually gonna jump. But he did. And on April 10th, when he did, ECW filed a court injunction and sent police to prevent Mike Awesome from appearing on Monday Nitro with the ECW title, since the belt was their property and they didn't want Awesome to pull a Medusa. Lance Storm has gone on record saying that Awesome was offered a newer, better deal by Heyman, but that Awesome refused it until he was given his outstanding wages, which makes perfect sense. If your boss is behind in paying you, they can offer you $1 million a week, but it won't matter if they never actually pay you what they're offering. Since Heyman didn't pay up, Awesome signed a $700,000 agreement with WCW that included bonuses, taking the deal up to $1 million. There, that's the backstory.
Did you have to be so graphic?
Now on to the day in question. April 13th. An arrangement is made where Mike Awesome would invade ECW's House Show, accompanied by Doug Dillinger and WCW security detail for his protection just in case somebody in the ECW locker room wanted to take some liberties. Awesome thought he would be dropping the ECW championship to his real-life good friend Rhino, but what he got was a much, much bigger surprise. You are not seeing things, folks. The ECW World title was about to be defended in a house show between WCW's Mike Awesome and WWE's Tazz.
Does the WWF even know about this?
Well, gee, Joey, I don't know, but I'd suspect the fact that the music guy has Tazz's WWE theme, I'm gonna go with yes. Since tensions were high, the spectacle itself was rather short. We had a quick ref bump, a bit of outside interference, and a quick tap out before Awesome retreated back to the greener pastures of WCW where, well...
Look at this. Mike Awesome and Nitro Girl beef.
I need a sponge bath.
Yeah, WCW did him dirty. On top of all that, Mike Awesome would become a sort of wrestling pariah for a while. He was seen as a backstabber and a traitor, at the very least a sellout. And honestly, I think that's entirely unjustified. Once again, if you're working for somebody and all of a sudden your employer stops paying you, do you keep working with the hope that your next check is going to clear before your electricity's cut off, or do you start looking for work elsewhere? The dude had a family, he had bills to pay. I'm sure as hell not loyal to any boss who isn't loyal to me. If my employer's checks are bouncing, then they're not getting a single penny's worth of work out of me. And Heyman had the chance to make things right and give Awesome the back pay he was owed. Unfortunately, the stigma of Awesome's actions stuck with him all the way until he took his own life in 2007, making this quote from Joey Styles at One Night Stand really age poorly.
Suicide dive by Mike Awesome, and it's a shame he didn't succeed in taking his own life.
Tazz would bring the ECW title to SmackDown and get a feature match against Triple H. That didn't really go that well for him, but it would set up Tommy Dreamer to challenge the Human Suplex Machine. Shortly after, Tazz would lose that title to Dreamer, cementing Tazz's legacy as one of the most important paper champions in all of pro wrestling history. Oh, and Dreamer would proceed to lose that title 5 minutes later to Just Incredible. That part tends to get overlooked because Tommy Dreamer was perhaps the least important paper champion in all of pro wrestling history. On that note, a few years ago I got to sit down with Just Incredible and we did talk about this period of time and about Mike Awesome.
And Mike was a great dude, by the way. Everybody loved Mike Awesome. He was a very well-liked guy. But when he agreed to take the money in ECW, I won't say myself because I really didn't care. But then it's like, it was very much ECW versus the world. That's what Paul had set up for us to believe. And a lot of the wrestlers really did believe that. It's like, you're fucking with ECW, you're fucking with me, dude.
There's a link to that full interview in the description as well as the card in the top right. But there you have it, probably the weirdest circumstance to have ever led every major pro wrestling company in North America to work together. A WWE superstar beat a WCW wrestler for the ECW title at a house show. And I want to ask you, what did you think of this whole thing? Did you or do you see Mike Awesome as a traitor who took the money instead of being loyal to the ECW message? Or was he right to look out for himself and his family over the demands of his employer? And should ECW have used one of their own instead of enlisting the WWE to get involved? Let me know what you think in the comment section, because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so I want to thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. I'll catch you next time.